Why did the works ascribed to Tacitus and Dio appear when they did? The appearance of the works ascribed to Tacitus and Dio in the 15th and 16th century is unsurprising contextually. They were essentially the embodiment of Renaissance humanism, the intellectual movement which came to dominate European thought at the time. Somewhat naively, this is simply remembered as the employment of classical-style texts designed to alter contemporary thinking, break with the medieval mindset, and create something new. However, crucially and fundamentally, it materialized as a determined effort to reaffirm church power against significant internal and external challenges. At the start of the 14th century, a bitterly entrenched rivalry between King Philip IV of France and Pope Boniface VIII came to a head. In December 1301, the Pope issued the bull Ausculta Fili, which asserted his claim as the spiritual monarch over earthly kings, to the dissatisfaction of Philip. Boniface reasserted his declaration of ultimate authority over both spiritual and temporal power the following year with the bull Unam Sanctam, and once again in late 1303. This standoff saw the king, and cardinals aligned to him, set themselves against the Pope. This enmity was ultimately resolved when Boniface died shortly after his arrest and severe maltreatment by Philip. Subsequently, the papacy effectively came under the control of the French crown, 1309 to 1376, with 7 successive popes residing in Avignon rather than in Rome. Concurrently, the Hundred Years' War had begun, and the reformist teachings of Occam and Wycliffe were spreading from England and across Germany. Moreover, England was resisting the payment of taxes to the Pope in France, which were deemed to be financing its enemy, while the conspicuously corrupt condition of the Avignon papacy further emboldened calls for church reform. In the East, the Ottoman Empire was developing significantly and added to the threats against church power and authority. The internal disunion of the church became exacerbated after Gregory XI's visit to Rome in 1377. Shortly after announcing his intention to return to Avignon after the Easter celebrations of 1378, Gregory unexpectedly died in Rome. Within a fortnight, the predominantly French cardinals elected Urban VI, who had previously been amongst the papal retinue at Avignon. It soon became apparent, however, that the new pope had no intention of returning to Avignon. Moreover, he sought the removal of the cardinals' power and benefits. Needless to say, the electorate immediately regretted its initial choice and claimed that Urban's election had been made under duress. They reconvened outside Rome on 20th of September 1378 and nominated anti-pope Clement VII, thereby dividing the papacy and creating the schism of 1378. Predictably, Clement re-established his papal court at Avignon and revived its allegiance and dependence on the French court. Contrary to restoring church power and authority, the cardinals had effectively cleaved the institution in two. Furthermore, they had initiated a considerable diplomatic crisis, which forced secular leaders across Europe to choose which papal claimant to recognize. Aside from the evident secular division, the new popes were compelled into competition and corruption as they wrestled for legitimacy and supremacy of the Church. Avignon gained support from France, while Rome enjoyed the support of England and Germany within the Holy Roman Empire. Nevertheless, the papacy's loss of direct and unified political power benefited and elevated the kingdoms of England and France, who succeeded the Church as the predominant forces in Europe. The respective appearances of Tacitus and Dio during the Wars of the Roses and immediately after the coronation of England's first Protestant king, Edward VI, is telling. Of the two, however, the creation of Tacitus and his works must hold preeminence, as they initiated the apparently unshakable narrative of Britain's perceived beginning. The spurious author's creations came as Rome was attempting to recover its power and authority, which had been corrupted and cleaved by the Avignon papacy and the Western Schism which followed. The rise of church reformists in the West and Islamic Ottomans in the East focused the Renaissance minds to embolden their position. Even though the papacy had wrestled power back from the cardinals, it sought to further empower and legitimize its position through a quid pro quo with Christian monarchs. Henry VII is a case in question. His precarious Beaufort claim relied upon Pope Boniface IX's 1396 dispensation and legitimization of John of Gaunt and Catherine Seymour's bastard children. One of these was Henry Beaufort, whose papal service and assistance at the Council of Constance won him his cardinalship. The council had resolved the Western Schism, returned the papacy to Rome, and condemned John Wycliffe and Jan Hus as heretics for arguing in support of church reform. Another agent of the church, recognized for his contributions at Constance, was Poggio Bracciolini, the papal secretary attributed with the discovery of Tacitian literature. He served in the household of Cardinal Beaufort in England, from the autumn of 1418 to the spring of 1423, the period immediately preceding his proclaimed discovery of Tacitus. The Council of Constance had significantly aligned Beaufort and Poggio with the revival of the papacy in Rome and church power generally. While Beaufort was made cardinal, Poggio was propelled to the forefront of the humanist movement by his recovery of unknown classical texts during the council. Beaufort continued dutifully in high service to the church, initially as papal legate for Bohemia, Germany, and Hungary, and subsequently as the leader of a crusade against the Hussites. His relentless efforts and dedication to the empowerment of the church and himself concerned Henry V, who refused to allow his legitimized half-uncle to take the cardinalship during his reign. Nevertheless, once the king passed and his infant child succeeded him, Beaufort accepted the office and indoctrinated the young king to the detriment of England's economy and stability. It appears unsurprising, in hindsight, that Margaret Beaufort's only child could secure the English crown on his paltry claim. However, the church was quick to support the claimant with loyal Beaufort blood and issued a papal bull excommunicating anyone who opposed his claim. Indeed, up to and until the time of Henry VIII's split from Rome, the church had bestowed an abundance of awards and honours upon the nascent Tudor dynasty. Marriage alliances with Catholic Spain and further papal dispensations confirmed their special relationship of legitimization and empowerment. Wycliffe's calls for reform may have been born in England, but were strangled by the new regime's unshakable affirmation of the church. This quid pro quo successfully empowered the precariously placed institutions of the Crown in England and the Church in Rome. However, the contract was conditional. Rome's supremacy was unquestionable, and its humanist agents would provide the necessary historic evidence. A shared ancient history was needed to advance the new relationship beyond their recent and respective tumultuous pasts. A tailored history which demonstrated Rome's historic paternalism over a divided, deviant, and degenerate Britain, and one which justified Britain's dutiful acceptance of Rome as the legitimate authority. Dio